guys, welcome back. So today we're in with another episode of the MK8 Golf R. So it's an episode that everyone's been asking for, and it's how is the Racechip on the MK8 Golf R. We're going to answer exactly that in today's video. So just to talk about some of the figures to begin with. Standards, when we dynoed with the Racechip, it made around 328 horsepower, and then after the Racechip it made around 363 horsepower and 439 newton meters of torque, and went all the way up to 483 newton meters of torque. So it's obviously a big difference. So as well as explaining what the difference in the driving experience is in the video, we're going to be see if we can do like some 0 to 60 times as well. Obviously, like I touched on, it's cold, it's wet, so performance probably isn't going to be outstanding, but hopefully we can get some representative numbers on there with the draggy that we can obviously chat about to illustrate some of the performance. But I mean, the car making the standard horsepower, it feels pretty good from the factory. Obviously it gives you a nice little kick in the back of the head and pulls quite hard versus like the previous generation Golf R. It feels as standard in between like a Mark 7 and a June Mark 7, which isn't really a bad place to be. So let's activate the Racechip and see what it feels like with the sport mode, which is I think map 5 on the Racechip. I mean, even in number 5 you can notice it's pulling substantially harder, and that was going up quite a big gradient as well. So as you can hear, the brakes definitely need replacing on this car. And yeah, the power delivery still seems pretty smooth as well, nice and linear. Gear changes seem to be pretty nice as well. So the gearbox appears to be happy in the sport mode. Let's see what it's like in map number 7. So that's the highest output software. Feels pretty powerful. One thing you do notice though is when it changes up into the next gear, there's a little bit of lag, and I'm not sure if that might be clutch slip, because it kind of feels like the clutch might be slipping a little bit. Obviously in map 7 you've got the highest amount of output in terms of torque and power that the Racechip is going to give you. So obviously if you're going to have clutch slip in any gear, if you're going to have clutch slip in any map, you'd expect it to be on obviously map number 7. So let's just give it another pull and see what it's like. Yeah, I don't know if you can notice in the camera, but you can tell that compared to map 5, the gearbox kind of doesn't know what it's doing. So I think although obviously map number 7 feels more powerful once the car's up and running, the driving experience wise isn't particularly too great, because you get that little bit of lag from, for example, from the clutch slipping, and then a little bit of clunkiness also from the gear change as well, which obviously what you don't want. And on a GSG car, obviously once the clutch starts to slip, and it slips a little bit worse every single time, eventually you're going to have to do a clutch change. And on these DQ381s, they're a little bit more renowned for requiring clutch upgrades, or clutch changes rather, versus the DQ250s, which are a little bit less sensitive. So I think if you're going to be running this, you need to be running it in probably map 5, map 4, something like that, and just look after the gearbox really. Obviously we can look at doing sort of like the DSG software on these cars as well, but if you're doing the DSG software, you may as well go for an all-out ECU tune by that point. Obviously it's not available necessarily at the moment, but hopefully should be available in the next couple of months. It's something we're certainly going to jump on as soon as the software is available. So I think, yeah, the Racechip works. It works pretty well, providing you pay attention to the maps you're in and to do with the clutch slip and the clunkiness of the gearbox. Obviously some people probably aren't going to be as sensitive to it as myself potentially, and there's probably going to be a bunch of guys or a bunch of drivers who are going to be driving these cars maximum throttle, having the clutch slip and not even sort of noticing it. So that's a little bit of a concern, but if you're going to be running it in the lower modes, not a problem really. I mean, I'm definitely going to be running it in the lower modes after experiencing all the clutch slip. So with the driving done, let's see what kind of times the car's going to do with the 0 to 60 times as well. First of all, we're going to test it on the standard software, and then we'll go up the power levels and see what kind of time we can set. So let's get started. Ton of wheel spin, and we've got a time of 4.28 on the standard software with the Venturi air intake. Obviously that is on Cup 2 tyres as well, and it's very wet, and also it's obviously quite cold as well, so not really optimum conditions for a launch, but even still the car's doing pretty well. So let's up the power level. So let's put it into the eco mode on the Racechip and see what kind of time it's going to do. So it's got 4.28 to beat. So with eco mode, let's stop off and see what kind of time we're going to do. See if I can get launch control activated in one go, which I don't manage to do. There we go, it's activated. So that's interesting. So that's managed a time of 4.47 seconds. So perhaps a little bit slower in the eco mode, but also perhaps if it's 0.2 seconds slower, then is it that different in the wet? Who knows? And this is it in sport mode. So much more wheel spin. And this is it in race mode. So much faster. 4.48. Interesting. I think the limiting factor today probably isn't the power. It's probably more to do with the amount of grip, which is evident from it not making a difference what kind of mode we're in, more or less, within like 0.1, 0.2 seconds. So the car did around 4.28, 0 to 60 time, but obviously this is with Cup 2 tyres, suspension upgrade, and with the Venturi intake. So, and also in the wet as well. So the tyres aren't really suited to the condition. So a standard Golf R will do a 0 to 60 in around 4.7 seconds. And obviously in the damp conditions today, we're expecting maybe a little bit worse than that, especially we've got the Cup 2 tyres on there. So first of all, we ran the car with the Racechip completely turned off. And I actually accidentally ran the car in eco mode as well, which was quite hilarious when I figured out afterwards, because the 0 to 60 time was 4.28 seconds, which kind of blew my mind a little bit. Obviously the tyres aren't suited to the conditions whatsoever. And then we ran it in sport mode, in the race mode on this car, and we did 4.53 seconds. So it's actually worse with the standard software in the race mode versus the comfort mode. So then we activated the Racechip, ran it in the sport mode, which is map number 5 first, and then we did around 4.43 seconds. So a little bit of an improvement upon the race mode on this car with the standard software. And then with the Racechip activated and the race mode, we then did a 0 to 60 time of 4.38 seconds as well. So I think probably the limiting factor today, we can pretty much say, wasn't necessarily the output of the car. It was probably to do with the levels of grip and the output of the car, so a mixture of both. So it'll be interesting to see what the car can do in perfect conditions with this particular setup. It's definitely going to be, I reckon, sub 4 seconds, probably the 3.9, 3.8, something like that, if we can get it to hook up nicely. Being that in eco mode in the wet, it's 4.28. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. In the next run of videos, we've got a really exciting batch of videos to do. So we've got a little bit of a partnership with Racing Line coming up. We're going to be going through the whole entire Racing Line catalogue pretty much with them to show you all the different upgrades that they do. So obviously if you're not subscribed already, subscribe so that you're ready when that video drops in the next couple of weeks. There's going to be about 4 or 5 videos on that. So yeah, see you on the next one. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, then please give us a thumbs up. If you'd like to watch other videos of ours that YouTube thinks you'll like, then click up here. If you'd like to watch some other videos that we have in the same playlist, then click here. And obviously if you enjoyed the video, then we really appreciate if you gave us a subscription. And then obviously you'll be updated when other videos of ours go live, and you can do that quite easily by clicking here. Hope to see you soon.